Could be brushing my arm this whole time, isn't it? I'll just hold it. It's magnetized for me. Okay, cool. Hey dudes, how's it going? And welcome back. You are very lucky today because you are getting a double whammy of videos. That's right. So today in this video, we are going to be going over 7 things that you can be doing at home to help you stay in tune with God while church isn't on, youth clubs aren't on. You might be struggling a little bit. And me too as well. I've been noticing things have been a little bit harder for me to stay in tune with God. I'm easily distracted. Often I forget to pray before making these videos and I just feel awful about it. But it's okay, God forgives us. But these things are going to be hopefully helpful to just get you through the rest of this quarantine time, however long that may be. So, number one is to try and associate a place in your house or a time of day with prayer. Now, when I used to cycle to college, there would be this one house that was really quirky looking. So every time I'd go past it, it would capture my attention. So I'd use that time to sing a song in my head, just a little chorus of a worship song. And I would do that 5 times a week, every time I'd cycle past. It wasn't like the most transformational thing, but it just helped me remember God throughout my day. And obviously being at home, you might not necessarily be going past quirky houses all the time. So maybe try and associate something in your house. For example, every time you go to open the fridge door, which I'm sure is a lot like me, try and thank God for his provision or thank him for the food that you have. Think about people who don't have the same kind of food, that sort of thing. Just whatever works for you. Equally, it can be a classic to think about prayer when you are going to sleep and just reflect on the day and things that might have stood out to you, things that you need to bring to God, say sorry for, things that you're thankful for, requests that you might have for a new day. So this kind of thing might not just click straight away, but the more you build up a habit of it, the more it will come naturally. So we'll hopefully just break up some of that distraction and just bring God into your day more. Number 2, pray out loud. Now, some of you might immediately be like, excuse me, I have people in this house. I do not live alone. I cannot pray out loud. And I hear you. That's okay. And I agree, I don't live alone either. You can whisper, put music on in your bedroom or wherever you are so that people might not overhear you. But the point of this is that sometimes when we get stuck in our own mind and we're just praying with our thoughts, we can get so distracted and not even realise that we've drifted off, and then we're sort of like, oh God, I'm so sorry. Not in a blasphemous way, like, oh God, I'm addressing you. Oh God, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't realise. I don't know why I sound like Stacey Solomon. And that's the problem with praying in your mind alone. But if you're praying out loud, you're using more of your body to focus on what you're doing. So your mouth is speaking, your ears are listening. And that can just help you to stay in tune with what you're doing. And just make prayer a more intentional time with God, more purposeful. You know, you might just find it goes a little bit further. So give it a go. Whispering's okay. But just getting more of your body moving should help. Number 3 is to explore what YouTube has to offer. Now, the amazing thing about this quarantine time, as unfortunate as it is in a lot of perspectives, is that churches are going online. There is so much stuff suddenly available for you all. You don't just have to stick to what your own church is running. You can look at absolutely any church, explore what's out there. And I particularly encourage you to do this with music. So if you had asked me about 3 weeks ago what my personal views were on Christian music, I would tell you that I thought it sucks. I never listened to it. I think it's cringy. Like, I just don't connect with it. I like music that is poppy and joyful and it makes me want to have a boogie. And I just, with most Christian music, it's too emotional that I just can't connect with it because I'm in one kind of brain, they're in another kind of brain. And I did not like it. But there was one song that I did like, so I looked up that song and then I just went through the YouTube recommended tab and saw what other music videos they had to offer after that. It really helped, and now I have about 6 songs that I just listen to on rotation, which for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've hit the jackpot. There's 6 Christian songs that I like. I can't believe this. So I will link those down below if you are interested in my Christian playlist. But the point is to explore. Same goes for talks, preachers, sermons, whatever you like to call it. I was really blessed by going online to look for stuff, partly because In my work, I go to church, but when I go to church, I have to leave the service halfway through to lead youth club, which I absolutely love doing, but it always means that I miss the talk in the church. So I started to go online to see what I could find. I started by searching on YouTube for the kind of topics that I was interested in. So I ended up finding a series called Relationship Goals by Pastor Michael Todd, who is fantastic and very handsome. So he was posting under Transformation Church. They are absolutely fantastic, and that series is amazing. I think there's 5 or 6 of them. They're about an hour each, which sounds like a really long time, and I guess it is for a lot of people, but it's so gripping and so interesting. And he has a really interesting way of talking. Like he'll walk, like he doesn't just stand still and like read. He walks around, he does different demonstrations, gets people up on stage. It's really cool. And he's very animated in the way that he talks, so that's fantastic. So I really enjoyed watching those, and then from then on I would just go through their channel videos and just see what else caught my eye and watch some of those. Like, not loads, I maybe watch about like one a week, and maybe less than that because they are quite long, but I encourage you to give it a go, especially now as you probably have more time at home. Equally, Ben Stewart is my new personal fave from Passion City Church WC. I'll post that down below as well. And the only thing I will say about this kind of method is that you might come across people who don't teach the Bible correctly, and that is kind of something you probably will only figure out once you start watching the video. So I just encourage you to do what we call discerning, being wise, listening to what you're hearing and making sure that it sounds about right. So my biggie is I always make sure that people I'm listening to refer to the Bible or a specific Bible passage. If they're not including the Bible in their talk, they're not a good speaker, they're not a good preacher. Disregard what they're saying, just don't go there. Equally, if they're saying some weird things like Jesus wasn't really the Son of God, or Jesus was a sinner, or the devil's actually a pretty cool guy, you should chat to him sometime, then probably click off that video. Click off. Number 4, talk to your Christian friends about faith. Now, I'm not saying don't speak to your non-Christian friends about faith, because absolutely do, of course, that's fantastic. The reason I'm specifically saying Christian friends is because if you're watching this video because you feel like you do need a little bit of extra guidance about how to stay in tune with God, it's probably better that you fix that and you just refuel your own fire with God before you go out to non-believers and start talking to them and sharing with them. Because as someone very wise had said to me about 2 years ago, we're sharing Jesus and we can't share what we haven't got. So if you haven't quite got a good hold of, why do I keep doing this woe thing all the time? Stop. If you haven't quite got hold of Jesus at the moment, just make sure you are really in tune with him first. So the other day I was on a video call with some friends of mine and we were just kind of bored, so they said, hey Gemma, ask us a question. And my question was, what is the most annoying thing about God? And before you hate me, God is annoying, and frankly, if you don't think he is, you're probably lying to yourself, or you need to get to know him better, because God is the most annoying person I have ever met. And I don't feel bad saying that, because he's not annoying because it's a problem with him. He's annoying because it's a problem with me, because I'm a control freak and I want God to do what I want to do and he doesn't. So this led into a really interesting discussion. My friend has said that she finds it really annoying about God that he doesn't reveal the future to her. She just wants to know what's going to happen and he won't tell her, and it's so annoying. And it led for a really interesting discussion amongst us, and we were able to share what we thought about that kind of thing. And also it can help you to pray for that other person, to give them encouragements and just tell them to keep going. So I strongly recommend you do that. Number 5, possibly my favourite, is date time. I take God out for a coffee date every single week at the same time, more or less. And I encourage you to do the same. It doesn't have to be coffee, because I know coffee's a bit gross. I only like it if it's like 90% milk and full of sugar. So, but you can have hot chocolate if you want, or juice, or whatever. Point is sticking to a time in the week which is slightly longer. So we've talked about sort of praying throughout the day, but the chances are that may only be sort of like 5-10 minutes long, maybe less, maybe 30 seconds, that's fine. But it's really good to also have that longer period of time that you're dedicating to him. So I don't really put a lot of planning into what I do. I just plan out the slot. I choose a Wednesday because that's typically my day off, but you guys might prefer to choose a Sunday or an evening time, because then when school starts up you can carry on the same slot. but I choose a Wednesday. And in that hour, I just do whatever I feel like at the time. I do a range of things. I have a journal, and I write things in that. I have music that I listen to now that I found some good music. And I'll just I write things that I'm thankful for. I think about how in the week there have been things that I haven't been great at that I need to work on. Maybe God's trying to teach me a new value that I need to work on. Just whatever. Sometimes I kind of just sit and I just wait. And that's the amazing thing about this time. There's something called waiting on the Spirit, which just means not rushing your time with God, but just being able to sit there and sacrifice time to Him. And that kind of obedience and respect for God, just saying, yeah, I'm going to give up this time to you, that can often reveal more stuff to you about Him, about your relationship with Him, than it can in a really quick prayer. I would really encourage you to invest in that. That has honestly changed my life. No joke, it has changed my life. As I say, I do normally go out for a coffee, so I think that can help the time. Don't beat yourself up if you can only manage 45 minutes, half an hour, but I would encourage you to really aim for at least half an hour just to give God that space in your life. Number 6, acts. What the heck? That wasn't my bad counting. I'm just really enthusiastic. Okay. You know why it was? It was because I was worried, if I do 6, is that the wrong way around for you? Should I be doing that? I don't know which way it is. That was the reason why I got that wrong. Disclaimer. Right, so number 6 is acts of service. Now, as Christians, we know that God loves it when we do good things, but we don't do good things to try and earn any kind of God's favour. We do good things because we love God, and from that outpouring of love in our hearts, we want to do good things. We want to represent God's character in our hearts in an outward way to other people. So I would recommend you do that at home, and there are loads of ways. It could just be making your mum a cup of tea. It could be offering to go down to the shop and scout out the toilet paper aisle. Maybe it's sending a friend an encouraging message. God, I'm sure, would absolutely love it if you did that out of your love for Him. That really glorifies Him and just shows the world what you're standing for. We are a community of people who want to love others, so let's show them that. This is a fantastic time to be able to do that. So go for it. Okay. Number 7 is a more risky one. It's more risky. And here's why. Number 7 is taking communion. Now, the reason this is a risky one is because lots of churches do this in many different ways. Some churches use silver chalices for the wine. Some churches don't use wine at all. Some churches use little shot glasses. Some churches use wafers. Some churches use gluten-free bread for everyone that you pass around and tear off. Some churches think that you need to be baptized before you take communion. Some churches think that you can take communion however old you are, as long as in your heart you are doing it for the right reasons. There are so many different things, and churches have so many different views on it. I just think if we're taking that too seriously, we are missing the point. So the point of communion is to remember what Jesus did for us on the cross, to have a little bit of red drink to symbolise Jesus' blood because He died for us on the cross. Equally, to have a little bit of bread to symbolise His body because He died for us on the cross. And when He died, He took our sins and then rose back to life again, therefore defeating death, proving His power over death, meaning that we don't have to die for our sins because He's done it. We just have to accept Him, and that is fantastic, and we just have to remember that. That is what it is. Sometimes we can just build up this picture and all these kind of accessories that aren't really that important. I'm very aware that some people might come for me because I'm saying this, but you know what? I have prayed about this. I feel like God has given me peace over sharing this with you guys. Before I filmed this video, again, I had to go back to God and was like, I do feel weird about saying this because a lot of people are going to disagree. I feel like people might tell me off. And I said to God, well, do I feel like you're going to tell me off for this? No, absolutely not. There's no way that I think taking communion on your own is a sin. And so therefore I was like, well, that's what I'm going to live by then. I'm not going to not say something because I'm afraid of people. I'm just going to say what I want to say because I think God thinks it's awesome. I think God would be absolutely delighted if you just wanted to sit at home and do your own communion by yourself. You don't need to be a fancy priest who blesses whatever it is you're taking. Juice, wine, maybe, ask an adult. That's not the God I know. I think God would be absolutely delighted if you wanted to just sit and remember Him by taking communion on your own. The only things I would say is that make sure you're doing it for the right reason. Don't do it because you think that makes you a better Christian, or because, oh, this is an exciting thing that I haven't tried before. Do it because in your heart you want to remember what God did for you, because you know that he has saved you in this way, and that's what you want to remember. The other thing that I would also suggest that you do before taking communion is to read over the Last Supper in the Bible. You might be familiar with it. If you've heard it loads of times and think you know it well enough that you understand what it's all about, then I'm going to trust that to you. That's between you and God. But if you're not so sure of it, or you've never heard of it, please read it before taking communion. It's really important that we follow Jesus and how he demonstrated we do it. So I will put the passage up on the screen, and I'll maybe link down below as well. So that's really easy. It's not very long. It's probably a page. But if you're unsure about doing communion on your own, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, then don't. But I am going to be bold and suggest that you have it as an option. So there you go. They are my 7 tips for what you can do to help stay in tune with God during this time. And if you have anything else that you think would be a really good tip, I would love to hear it. I could do with some more tips. I only have 7. I'd like 8 or 88. So that'd be fantastic. So leave those down below. Hope you have a blessed week, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Yeah.